I want to change the way that consumers and companies think about their role in the world and how they can buy with their values and act with their values. But that's getting ahead of the story. Let me take a step back. I was a venture capitalist here in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, was working in the tech industry, and I discovered human trafficking in a restaurant here in the Bay Area. A restaurant that had brought over 400 teenagers between the ages of 12 and 20 into the Bay Area from the region of Bangalore, India. Brought them into the restaurant, forced them to work first in the restaurant, then took them out to fruit and vegetable fields, brothels, construction crews in Northern California. So slavery in my own backyard in the 21st century. You know, and it's really a strange thing that the things happen to you in your life, and you know, sometimes you just let them go by. And you think, that was really weird. Of course, you know, I live in San Francisco. Everything's weird here, right? So you just let it go by and you move on with your life. But for some reason, that was almost like a Paul on the Damascus Road experience for me. It was like, no, stop in your tracks. Think differently about what you're doing with your life. And pay attention to this. And it's developed into a whole theological philosophy for me, because I guess I was raised with the idea that I had to find out, you know, what's the meaning of life and what does God want, and it was very kind of abstract and ethereal. But I've come to the conclusion that God is asking me questions all the time. It's just how I respond to the things that God puts in my life that becomes my theology. It becomes my way of understanding the world. So life is asking me questions. I'm not asking life questions. And every time I give an answer, I get a whole new set of circumstances based on what that choice will be. So I made a choice. I decided that I would take a year leave of absence from my venture capital bank, also my university I was teaching, and I decided to go around the world and follow the money. I went from San Francisco to Bangalore. In Los Angeles, I discovered 112 Thai women had been locked in a sewing factory for years, so I went to Thailand. In Dallas and Houston, I discovered young girls from Guatemala and Peru were being sold at cantinas, at little bars where they'd be lined up with a number on them. Men come in, get a drink, say the number they wanted, and they'd take the girl for however long that they bought them. From Washington, D.C., Maryland, young girls who were house slaves, sold to be domestic servants in the homes of wealthy American families. I went to Africa. So I followed the money. And during the course of that year was my attempt to understand how human trafficking could work. One of my vocations in life is a writer. I used to write for the New York Times and Wired. I've written 6 books. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do, my one gift back to this, or my response, I'm going to find it out, I'm going to uncover it, I'm going to investigate it, and I'm going to write a book. Then I'll go back to the university, I'll go back to my venture capital bank, move on with my life. And you know, the funny thing when you take one step, and I know you all know this because you're working for World Vision, is that God has a way of bringing a second step into your life. You go, oh no, not a second step. All I wanted was one step. On my journey of investigation, I met a woman in northern Thailand. Her name is Krunam, and she had saved 27 kids out of karaoke bars from the commercial sex industry, and was now living in the middle of nowhere in the Golden Triangle on a piece of just field dirt. She had one structure. It was built out of palm leaves and sticks. And I met her, and I know if any of you were with me that day when I met her, with her 27 kids, that you would have made a promise to her too. I said, look, I'm going to go back, write this book, and I'm going to build you a house. That was it. That was step 2. Came back to San Francisco. I'm writing the book. I get a call from Krunam. You know those 27 kids? There's now 53. I'm thinking, boy, this better be one damn good book. Okay, I'm going to build you 2 houses. All right, now I go back with new determination. I'm going back with new commitment to this. And before I can even finish the book, she's rescued 88 kids. She needs a village. I know my family's not big enough to buy all those books, so I say, okay, I'm going to start an organization, and it's going to be the same title as my book, Not for Sale. See if we can build a village. So we built a village in northern Thailand. If you go there today, I was there 2 weeks ago with Michael, who's doing the videoing today. And there's, at any one time, 150 kids. They're all stateless kids. I know you know that, what that means. From ethnic tribes. No one child from an ethnic tribe in Thailand has ever graduated from a university. It's because they can't go to school. They can't go to a clinic. They're not citizens. Thailand doesn't consider them citizens. Burma, Myanmar doesn't consider them citizens. So our strategy is, let's get these kids into school any way we can, and when they get to be university graduates, there's a program for giving citizenship to university graduates. So those kids I met in the field 11, 12 years ago, the first 2 just graduated from university. The first 2 stateless kids in all of Thailand. Super cool. And then Michael and I interviewed 7 more who are ready to graduate and heard their aspirations, their dreams. And we have 45 more ready to come next year in the university. So this pipeline of kids, and they get replaced when they leave the shelter with other kids who are young and need the kind of support to get there. You know, I was inspired by that. So with Not For Sale, you know, we built a shelter and village in northern Thailand. Then we went to Peru, built a shelter there in Lima. Then we went to Romania. Started building shelters all over the world. And, you know, it was inspiring, but I got to tell you, I honestly felt like when I met the challenge of poverty, exploitation, and human trafficking, that I opened my heart and I shut down my brain. I'll tell you what I mean by that. See, I could be building shelters for the rest of my life. I could build 10,000 shelters next year, and I still am not solving the problem. And I am trying to build the whole enterprise of Not For Sale based on a faulty business model. You see, when I'm in venture capital in Silicon Valley, we try to find capital that's really strategic. We find the best talent, and we get the best technology. Because we're out to win, right? We're competing in the technology industry. When I started Not For Sale, and no offense here, because you guys are at a whole nother level than my NGO, but when I started Not For Sale, I didn't go after the best capital. I would beg for whatever money would come my way, right? That's what we do. I would get whatever talent would come to me. In fact, I go to Stanford, MIT, great US educational institutions. I tell my story, and inevitably some kid would raise his hand, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so inspired. If I can't get a job at Goldman Sachs and Apple, I'd love to come work for you." I'm like, what the heck? Why would I want you? Using the language of today, you're a loser. Why would I want you, right? I want the best and the brightest. I need people who are good at finance, investment, entrepreneurialism, and people who can create an impact in the world of social environment, right? You need to be successful at both. I need smart people, not people who can do one thing. But again, it's raising that bar. It's raising that expectation. We're changing the world. But why are we settling for secondhand capital, secondhand technology, and secondhand talent? Right? The people who do these stupid things, they get the best and the brightest. We're changing the world. So you reframe that. You say, okay, you're going to hear from Darian later. He's the best and the brightest. Brightest guy I've ever met come out of the work he's doing in Oakland. He's a rock star. Right? He could go other places, do other things, but he's committed. That's the kind of person I want. So, then it's like, well, how do you change the model? I said, okay, what do I do if I want the best talent in Silicon Valley? I said, I'm going to bring the 50 smartest people I know together, and I'm going to take 2 days of their time, and I'm going to ask them to help me build a business enterprise that is the same alignment of values and mission as Not For Sale. So I didn't know you then. I'm sure you'd be in my 50, but I didn't know you, okay? So, you know, the founder of Twitter, the head of All Saints and American Apparel, you know, a baseball player, the largest NAB Bank, the large wealth managers from NAB Bank. So we got 50 really bright, successful people together. And I said, look, I want what you know, who you know, and how you know. And over the next 48 hours, I'm going to present to you a challenge in Peru. We have a shelter. At this shelter are kids coming from the Amazon area, indigenous native tribes. They are being taken advantage of because of their poverty, their dubious citizenship, even though they're native indigenous tribes. And they also are being put into coal mines, charcoal, and gold mines. I want your ideas how we could create a business that would generate a different economic platform, that puts them less at risk, that goes upstream, not just rescues them at the bottom of the stream, but goes upstream to solve how do you prevent people from falling into vulnerability. So, you know, and I'm in a rash of irrational exuberance. I also said to them, whatever idea you come up with, on Monday morning, my team is going to do. The stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. Because they came up with an idea for something I have no clue about how to do. They had a competition, they had really great ideas, and then we put them, you know, Silicon Valley venture people, they really love to compete. So they're fiercely competing in teams to get the best idea. Then they pitched it to a panel. You know, one group that was led by an MIT professor, they created a motor for a boat that's powered by raindrops. They had like a flat pan. Pretty cool idea. Still think we should pursue that one. It didn't win though. What won was a beverage that was sourced rich herbs from the Amazon. Maca root, mate, guaisana leaf, cat's claw, and give empowerment to local jobs, local communities, sustainably harvesting these herbs, then taking the extracts, manufacturing a beverage that is good for you, and then taking the generated revenue and returning that revenue in part, because some has to operate the company and some has to be paid to investors, but a proportion of the revenue would go back to those communities to provide capacity for ongoing economic development. The company was called Rebel. Roots, extract, berry, bark, and leaves. Be a rebel. Don't drink the same old crud everybody else drinks, Coca-Cola, what the heck is that? Right, be a rebel. So, Monday morning, I wake up and I think, what, David, what were you thinking? All right, so what I do, okay, imagine now you're in Silicon Valley. What do? You find the best beverage maker in the United States. You don't go and get your Aunt Martha who had this cute little lemonade recipe, or the social worker you met one time and she wanted to do something good for, no! If you're in Silicon Valley, what do? You find the best beverage maker in the world. And I found him. Now, once I found him, I had to convince him that he'd come work for me. So what do I say? Look, I know you're getting all these offers from venture-backed companies, but why don't you come work for me because we're good valued and you're not going to make any money. And no! Hey, I'm going to pay you whatever, I'll match any other offer you're getting. Right? Salary, equity, and I'll give you the opportunity to build your own beverage. It's going to change the beverage industry. Because yeah, I'm in. Awesome. I walk away. Now, where am I going to find the money? I've got the best beverage maker in America. He's going to make a beverage like no other. And you know so much sugar is going into all these other drinks, unhealthy. This one's going to change the way the beverage industry works. Okay, I'm in. Raise the capital, just like I had to give away equity. But you're building a company like a company should be built, right? Fast forward 4 years. We're the #1 organic beverage in America today. Crazy, right? The investors are happy. They're looking for other investments they can make. The people who are sourcing the materials, they're happy. They're getting jobs. They're getting an economic platform. And then Not for Sale can put more money back into those communities at risk so that we can expand the supply chain. Right? So everybody is lucky once. Right? Everybody is lucky once. So the challenge as an investor or as an entrepreneur is, can you repeat the model? So I've been experimenting over the last 5 years, and I tell you, it is an experiment. I've been experimenting with different models. Like, how do we scale this? Because my assumption, and you work in economic and international development, so you understand where I'm coming from, is that when you do say a shelter, or when you do a local project, say agricultural development in a local village, there's a certain kind of flat line to it. There's only, like, I have a village, 150 kids at a time. It's phenomenal. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done. But I'm helping 150 kids at a time. There are 450,000 stateless children in northern Thailand. And I can't scale that impact. Maybe 150 up to 175? And so how do I create the ecosystem? How do I create the environment whereby that is able to scale? And that's going to take a system around it that enables the scaling and the impact to involve other families. And even though I have Heidi on my team now, I don't have enough hours in the day to do the things I want to do. So, second experiment, a company comes to me and says, I love what you're doing with Rebel. We're a protein bar. can we create the same system with you? All right, said, okay. And now that company, 4 years later, is the fastest growing protein bar company in America. Its market value is $15.5 million today. We didn't create it. It was other entrepreneurs who really needed capital. They needed the talent and capital that we could bring, the network we could bring. So that's a repeatable model, just to go around the world and find teams that are really creative, they've got a great product already proven, and what they really need is market and capital. That's an interesting model, right? So then believe me, I'm an incessant tester. My motto is fail fast. I don't mind failing, I just want to fail fast. And just because one model works, maybe another model, economic model, is better. So I'm going to take a third model. And this one is something I said, okay, I'm going to fund the whole thing myself. And I did it in two ways. The Model 1A, all right? This is like Elon Musk builds rockets, and if they don't go off, he builds a second one. So this Model 1A is in Amsterdam, completely funded by Not for Sale. We were working in the red light district and Not for Sale. And have any of you been to Amsterdam? Yeah, and you've seen those windows where these girls are being sold? And I had heard about this woman who's really legendary. She's got social capital. She's been working in Holland, in Amsterdam, for about 17 years with the girls behind the windows, providing social services, medical services, just like knows every young woman behind every window. And she shared with me when we got together the first time, David, these girls are not young Dutch girls who are like freely choosing prostitution. They're from Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, 75% of them. And I go, this is wonderful. I'd love to figure out how we could work together. She said, well, I'm quitting. I go, what do you mean you're quitting? You got 17 years of legacy, credibility. That's incredibly valuable. You can't walk away. She said, no, I'm fed up. I've been promising these young girls that if they walk away, if they escape their trafficker, their pimp, that there's some better life for them. I'm lying to them. There's nothing better. What am I offering them? You're free. Free for what? So I said, okay, I am in the mode of experimentation. Will you trust me to do an experiment together? Let's create a company here in Holland, and our target will be how we provide sustainability to these young women behind the windows. And so we started a high-end soup company. If you've been to Holland, they love their soup for some reason. And they have gourmet soup restaurants on several corners around the city. So we started a soup company. We got a kitchen in the red light district. We started making great soups, garlic and carrot and ginger. And we'd take it to the women behind the windows. They were our first customers. We wanted them to understand that they're customers of a growing business. Now, logic in the NGO world would tell you create a soup kitchen, give away soup. That doesn't benefit them. So, I know you're being exploited. I know you're being forced to sell your body every day, but that's €2.50 for your soup, please. Oh, you want salad? That's €4. Right? So, we start to build this relationship of a commercial, you got to eat every day, eat here instead of buying junk food that your pimp gives you. And so we get 100 women, 200, 300 women buying soup. Now we're starting to roll. We've got like 300 women, and we got a text SMS service where you order your soup for the day. We cater it. We bring it to the window. What is it today? Oh, it's goulash. Okay, could you bring it between 3 and 3:30 when I'm not seeing John's? And then we get a call that we have to go in and see the chief of police of Amsterdam. And I'm thinking, oh, how stupid we are. We didn't even get a business license to do this. Right? We just start making soup. We start selling the soup. We start going in the windows. All right, so believe me, we make a lot of mistakes. All right? Just fail fast, all right? So the chief of police of Amsterdam calls my team in and he says, we hear you're selling soup in the red light district. We said, yes, we are. We hear it's really good soup. We said, believe me, it's the best soup. We got the best chef in Amsterdam, actually in Holland. We go after the best. We got the best. He goes, well, we love that. Could you start selling to our precincts? I got to tell you, if you're going to start a business, if you get sex workers and cops on board, you're in great shape. You're off and running, man. All right, so we start to build this clientele. Now, I've got a challenge. We've got a lot of customers. We've got a lot of demand. We don't have workers, so we go to the women behind the window, say we're starting a culinary school. We worked with Jamie Oliver, the Naked Chef, if you've heard of him. Yeah. Right? Again, go for the best and the brightest. Help us start a culinary school for the young women, and we started to provide chef training and catering so that we could provide that demand. Then the largest retail store in Europe came to us and said, we want to commercialize your soup. 850 stores. We need more chefs. We need more right? You see where this is going?
Yeah.
This is the part I love, though. I never expected it. The mayor, when we went to Amsterdam, people said, you know what, don't try and fight the commercial sex industry and sex trafficking in Holland. It's been there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And it's so embedded, people believe it's tolerant and freedom and, it's legalized, everything. And we say, okay, well, we're not going to be fighting prostitution. We're going to talk about a different kind of life, right? Offering opportunities. So the mayor came to us and said, you know what? I've been watching what you guys are doing. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we the brothel of Europe? Right? Why did men come from Greece and UK and Croatia for their sex holidays? We're the land of Anne Frank, Van Gogh. Right? We got the canals. Why are we selling our soul? We're going to close down half the red light district, and we want to give you a brothel to turn into a restaurant. So not only are you serving the women, but you can start serving the people of Amsterdam. So I'll roll forward. We just finished year 1 of Dignita Restaurant. We have now 17 new women entering the culinary school every month. We made a net profit of $250,000 this year. So much so, we're opening a second restaurant, which is just a gorgeous large restaurant that has the capacity to even double our net revenue from last year. That's all not for sale, owned and run. All right, so I think about that, I say, wow, that's impact, right? I can't have that same impact by starting a simple training program and then trying to help women go get jobs somewhere. Right? It's creating a transparent vertical supply chain. The risk is I'm doing it all with not-for-sale money. So I like the model. I like the fact that not-for-sale is the sole recipient, but I don't like the fact that if it fails, not-for-sale loses all the money. And if you've ever been an investor, you know there's this saying, OPM, other people's money. You try and diversify your loss and your risk by including other partners. So they win, like Rebel is the other side. Again, it's playing with the economic models that work best for the mission you have, the kind of return you want to see, the kind of impact you want to have. Based on that, I decided, okay, this time I'm going to take all the risk personally because I'm an investor. And my son had come to me and said, hey, Dad, I want you to mentor me. He's 23. In doing a business. I said, okay, let's do a not-for-sale kind of business, but we'll take all the risk. So we start a shoe company. And this shoe company is built on the very premise that if we can create a better shoe, I mean, the shoe industry is so 18th century, right? The kind of labor they use, the toxic chemicals they use. Every shoe that you and I have on today are going to be in a garbage dump in 3 generations. So I said, we have friends in the Amazon. We've worked with Rebel. Let's build a vegan organic shoe. I mean, it's so vegan you can eat it. Right? Let's create a shoe that will get organic rubber straight from the tree, organic cotton that grows in the tree, and then let's create a shoe that's super cool. And Z Shoes was born right here. Right? This was just in the last 6 months. You open the box, and out comes a beautiful shoe. 100% organic, biodegradable. Right? You start building that demand for a high quality shoe, right, that people want. This is also not just about production and changing the way that people think about how I give back, but I think about world vision. Imagine the constituency you have globally. Imagine the thrill they would have to see that the people I support with my charity dollars also create a product that I can wear, that I'm proud of, that other people are proud of. You see, this whole supply chain is backed by not for sale. And when people wear it, we talk about not for sale. We talk about, so yeah, it's a shoe company that's commercial. I'm going to take on Nike. But it's about not for sale, at the heart and the soul of this. And my donors are not, and this is the reason I think a lot of NGOs don't think about ecosystem. They think they're going to cannibalize their donor networks. Right? If we try and get consumers to buy our products or investors to invest in our, then we're going, that is so 20th century and late. Right? People are thrilled to see the transparency of the whole supply chain, to have the impact personally as a consumer. My donor dollars created this. I built this company. It's an experience. But you're the best in retail because you want to be the best in the world because you want to change the world. I think this probably resonates. And so the fact that we've been able to repeat this over and over, now you start thinking, what does a 21st century look like? Not a 21st century company look like? Not only the products, they're different. Biodegradable, organic, empowering the consumer. I know the people who are producing this and they have dignity. That's all 21st century. Now, how about in the selling of it? All right, do any of you have Venmo? Okay, you have Venmo. Okay, Michael has Venmo. Okay, Venmo is basically electronic cash. It's like Michael and I go out for dinner together, and the bill comes, and I go, okay, I'll pay for it, and then you just give me half cash, right? And he just Venmos me. Now in Africa, this is very common, right? They're way ahead in Uganda and Tanzania on electronic cash. It's like Square Cash, but it's Venmo. Well, little did I know until I started, one of my sons who's involved in the company told me, Dad, every college student has Venmo. So I went to class last month. I said, hey, how many of you have Venmo? 95%. I go, oh my gosh. So my son came up with this idea, my business partner. He said, what if you go to a presentation and say, look or you're with a friend and you're hanging out, and then I goes, oh, I love the shoes. He goes, yeah, usually they're 88, but if you Venmo me 68 right now, I'll give you a pair of shoes. Right? And so you go, at Z Shoes, boom. That's it. The whole transaction just happened. It's like doing it's shorter than an email. At Z Shoes, boom. Right? The immediacy of that. But you imagine if you're in a presentation at World Vision? You imagine thinking, you know what I'm saying? Look, we need to help this village. They're living on the edge of existence tonight. Pull out your phone and do at World Vision, at WVI, whatever. Thinking differently about how you connect with people, the immediacy of it. If you say, hey, go home tonight, go to the website, look up World Vision, you've lost 90% of the people, right?
Yes. Yeah. Totally.
You really have. But if I said, look, right now, at this very moment, Andrea, you could own a pair of shoes. You go to my website, it's 96. I'll give it to you for 77. Right? By the way, you give me a card tonight, I'll give you the $77 deal because you guys don't have Venmo. Okay. All right. So, the final stage of the ecosystem. Because again, even though we're scaling, and since we last talked, right? I mean, this has really grown extraordinarily. I think we just done Rebel then. Yeah.
That's right.
So, as we have 8 companies in our ecosystem, and as that grows and scales, I'm still cognizant that's not enough to scale the kind of change we want to see. What if you can get then companies that already have billions of dollars in revenue and customers to get engaged? And that was the next stage. Bumblebee Tuna, the largest tuna fish company in the United States, privately held, decided that they would join with us in our ecosystem. And so we have a project in Vietnam that we rescue kids, boys, off the streets of Hanoi. So I got Bumblebee, 1, to commit $1 million over 10 years to support that work. 2, that they would guarantee a job to every kid that goes through our shelter program. Right? Now you're talking about the power of a company to change the way that they are having an impact. I can't build I could, but it's going to take me a long time, tuna fish company. Now here's my favorite, I'm going to end here, then we can have a conversation. So, we've got an apparel company, All Saints, a really cool apparel company out of UK. We've got a really cool company that does bed sheets out of New Jersey called Boll and Branch. They've created 10,000 jobs for families in India through the way that they're sourcing differently. But what really blew me away was when a diamond company came to me 6 months ago. And you've seen Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio, you've seen the diamond company said, look, we want to change the way that diamonds, we don't want to have blood on our diamonds. We have a big market in East Africa diamonds like everyone else. We want to change that. And we found a way that we could use biomimicry, which is basically you mimic what's happening biologically or geologically. And what they're doing is that they're creating diamonds through hot plasma that's mimicking what happens under the earth. And they'll take a little diamond chip, just a little one, and they will use plasma on that for 6 weeks. They create a 3-carat diamond. The challenge now is, I fall in love. I say to the woman I want to marry, I want to buy you a diamond. It will be artisan. She goes, oh, you mean one of those artificial ones? I want a real diamond. Right? So we're talking about social framing. So they came to us and said, we want to work with Not for Sale to change the values and the ethics of how you buy a diamond. So that we work with Not for Sale. If you buy an artisan diamond, we're going to change the lives of those kids that the other diamond makers are exploiting. And so now we have a project on the border with Congo and Uganda, which is just unbelievable. I don't have time to tell you about right now. But it's being fueled by the diamond company, who every time I buy a diamond now, I know that these kids, I'm funding entrepreneurs that are Congolese who now want to change their country. I would rather buy a diamond like that, and we just have to communicate that in every store that they operate. So you go into a store, it's kind of like a Tesla store or an Apple store. It's a showroom. They're building them all over the country today, and they have a Not for Sale on every wristband, because they want to tell you the story of why we're not for sale. We're not going to exploit kids. That's when change happens, is that your model starts to be adopted by billion-dollar companies. So I can only imagine a $2.3 billion company that's globally distributed, already working on the ground in supply chain with customers all over the world potentially, what they could do. If you know anyone like that, the power of the ecosystem, we have the opportunity, and I mean we here in the room, to get in front of the changes that are happening. We know this is happening, but it is our inability to imagine the gap between today and tomorrow. Right? It's the vision and it's the platforms, the bridges that take us from here to tomorrow. And I know that this week is a part of it. The next 2 days we're going to talk about that vision and bridge, what that looks like. And I'm thrilled that I can be a part of visioning with you. So thanks for coming to our hub.
Thank you.
This is where we invent it all, and we're glad to have you here today. Thanks for